You're watching Wrangling Gaming. Enjoy the video.
Hey guys and gals, Nary here from Wrangling Gaming, and some of you may on Twitter the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you another Let's Play episode of Changeling Tale, Grace's Path. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right back into it, shall we? Alright, I'm going to save the Patreon stuff for the end of the video. Anyway, alarm chain, you are up, and let's go. Alright. Thanks. I usually have help on market day, but my sisters decided to make themselves scarce today. I'm struck by the freckles unevenly distributed along her cheekbones. The dark green blouse she wears makes her red hair glow like the rising sun. She's grown, but her voice is unchanged. It's certainly her. It has to be. Marion McLeod. As soon as the question leaves my mouth, a fear may have made her uncomfortable and surprised. Perhaps she does not recognize me. Noticing her inability to shake hands due to the overabundance of packages, I squirm, shake my head, and start to apologize. She straightens up, adjusts her goods, and looks me dead in the eye, and extends one hand. Aye, I'm Marion. Her handshake is firm. She squints at me, perhaps because of the bright sun. Then her face breaks into a smile. Malcolm? She sighs with relief. You're home! The wind blows across the familiar face, no longer that of the girl I knew through childhood, but of the woman she's become. She steps towards me as if to offer an embrace, but is too bogged down with groceries to do anything but stare at me, wide-eyed. Her visage is warm and youthful, but her eyes have a maturity beyond their years. Back and still in one piece, thankfully. How are you, your sisters? Grace and Jessie. We're all still managing to make ends meet on the homestead. We're still neighbors then, and your parents. I catch myself. Your father. Her mother passed when the girls were young. I should have remembered before I spoke. Her father is still away. He's overseas, or serving as an officer. We're tending the place to ourselves. Your hands must be quite full with that. She laughs and shifts her weight again, obviously still struggling under the load. In more ways than one. I'd better get back to my errands before I drop anything else. It's so wonderful to see you again, Malcolm. And please stop by our home any time. All of us can catch up. It's been too long. She nods a farewell and turns back toward the fray of the market. Get on the day's errands. You too, Marion, and feel free to visit the farm any time. She's already disappeared back into the crowd. My, how she has changed. I stop and think, and realize how much I've changed too. None of us made it through the last few years untouched. Damn it! Stop bleeding! Tell you now. Got a cut on my arm. I'm just trying to... I don't have any bandages. Cut myself shaving. Okay. Alright. I stop and think. Okay. Trying times. Despite the hustle and bustle, the vendor stands are noticeably diminished. I get what I can and make do for the rest. Building supplies, barn tools, a few things from the pantry, and some clothes that do not smell like Granddad's closet. It all goes into the cart, much to Hazel's dismay. To make it up to her and to fulfill my promise, I make one last stop by the grocer to pick up a healthy supply of treats. How's this as a reward for a hard day's work? Silly girl. There you go. Ugh. Okay. I hold a sack of carrots up to Hazel. She sniffs at it and whinnies. I take one out and she pulls it from my hand greedily. So it seems my mare is not above bribery. Progress. The sun is high and the market is finally winding down. Some people are packing their things, about to set off for their long treks home. Others are drifting into the Stag and Nanny to top off the tank before their journey. Let's get home to Gran. I finish loading the reluctant steed up, and the two of us set off down the road together. At home, Gran has tea waiting. After putting away our market goods, we dine lightly on mutton broth and wheat scones. So, out with it, dear. Tell me about your first day back. There isn't much to say. Market was an adventure, though. Crowded, but fewer goods than I remember from last time I was there. I'm sure it'll be some time before things get back to the way they were, if they ever do. Everyone's been feeling the bite of the war, love. Did you run into any old friends? Well, I did run into the McLeod girl, Marion. Ah, Marion is a dearie. How's she faring? She seems to be doing well. I imagine it's been quite difficult with her father gone. I agree. You know, Marion stops by here weekly with cornmeal and eggs. She routinely brings bread and muffins as well. I usually repay her by asking her to take mail into town, or darn my sock holes, terror that I am. I nearly choke on the stew that I thought of having to handle Agnes's socks. A fate I would wish upon no one. Cran, you know she works very hard tending to their farm and taking care of her sisters. I laugh, shaking my head. Well, if nothing else, it encourages you to accept our help from time to time. On the rare occasion, yes. Reaching out is tricky, eh? I don't want to be a burden. Marion has quite a great deal on her plate, with Grace out wandering and Jessie working long nights at the pub. Stag and nanny. I think back on the flapper. It couldn't be a local girl, could it? I'd be concerned too if my sister were around girls like the Flashy when I encountered singing there last night. Singing? Jessie did always have a lovely voice. You don't suppose... Cran is laughing now. Really? Really, a flapper? Born and bred in Acne Craig? I smile now too and shake my head at the thought. A neighbour, no less. Yes, that would be her, and I bet my boots on it. That girl's been clamouring for excitement for a long time coming. Marion must be livid. And you can imagine if her... And can you imagine if her old man found out? I guess it's her versus the world. Sounds like Jessie, all right. How about now? How are you adjusting now that you're home? Her face is all concern. If I want to be honest with myself, it's a question I've been avoiding. One that I'm not sure I would like the answer to. Well enough, I guess, but while the faces are familiar, the people are also different. It's been a struggle to make connections again. I understand. We all have our own battles to fight, I suppose. My stomach heaves and my face lets it show. Oh, Malcolm, no, I didn't mean that at all. I swallow down the bile in my throat and try to laugh it off. It's alright, Gran, you didn't mean anything by it. I need to get used to hearing the word after all. It's just a word. It's more than that, though, isn't it? I can't lie to her. My neck tightens as I begin to speak again, and my hands turn into fists below the table. Gran can't see the linen strings of my napkin shred as I claw my fingernails together. It is, and I can't say the same. Can't say that being home has helped. Second, no. You seemed so relieved yesterday. But not happy. Joy I don't see returning to my life anytime soon. My dear boy. Grandmother tears up and guilt swells inside me. What have I done? Why couldn't I simply be strong? For her, if not for myself. I'll be fine, I will. I just need time. You may have all that you desire. I'm just so comforted by your presence, Malcolm. Even if you don't see the beauty of the world again yet, please know that I see it in you. I want to cry with her, to allow us an honest shared moment of deep sorrow and mourning. For my parents leaving, for my grandfather's death, for every friend I left behind in the fields. Instead, I gather my wits and place the torn napkin on the table. I stand and offer Agnes my hand. Come, Gran. Let's get you cozy by the fire so I can go tend to the herd. I spend the rest of the day relearning the routine on the farm. Time flies by under the lazy floating clouds. It's hard to believe less than 24 hours had passed since I rode into town. Less than a week since I was in an overcrowded barracks waiting to come home. My hands work of their own accord as my mind drifts, the sparks of flashbacks falling into my thoughts. The shy smile of the young woman welcoming me back just last night. Jessie in her flashy dress, swaying on stage with a devil-may-care grin. Marion struggling with her packages, Bulgare's warm embrace, grandmother's scent. Explosions, gunfire, shouts of battle cries, the creeping dread of each dawn that I feared might be my last. I take a short breath and try to shake myself out of it. The memories are still fresh, maybe too fresh. Hopefully time will settle my mind, but I fear what I'll do until that day comes. I daydream about Tara and love, and occasionally find myself wondering if there's even a difference. Alright, on to the next day. Alright. Or night. It looks like night. Or evening at least. Dusk. Yeah. Another beautiful day in the Vale. It's proving to be quite a warm and dry May. Perhaps Mother Nature is ready to move on from the doom and gloom of the last few years as well. The morning's chores are done and the sun is already high in the sky. Having tended to Hazel and the herd, I can finally move on to something more productive. It's about time to get started on the stable repairs. Patching the roof seems like a better option than offering Hazel an umbrella during the nighttime rain, after all. I pull together some tools, rope, and a fresh bundle of thatch, and I begin lugging them up a ladder. Once I'm up there, I am careful with my footing, lest I add a Malcolm-shaped hole to the roof. As is, the gaps are awful. I can see right down to the floors of the empty stalls. Empty? Hazel? From atop my high perch, I can see her. How my horse escaped her stall, I've no idea, but there she is, bolting across the field towards the lock. Cursing, I fumble my way down the ladder, dropping my tools as I go. Lure her back with treats. I duck into the stable to grab a few treats, stuffing them into every pocket I've got before setting off after her. Thankfully, I find Hazel on a bluff overlooking the loch, where she has stopped to graze on a patch of bluebells. I make my way across the field to retrieve my erasable little mare, tiptoeing up to her. She bucks and darts off again, but not far this time. Hazel, I've got a carrot for you! I reach into a pocket and produce a bright orange root, hoping it's enough to lure her back. I try to waggle it around seductively. You behave and I'll give you whatever you want. I sound like a terrible parent. Hazel, darling, yes, there you go. Hazel begins to tromp closer to my outstretched hand. She approaches me cautiously but agreeably. Finally, reluctantly, she snatches the carrot and I grab hold of her and take her reins. It makes her agitated and she chafes as I try to take control. From my other pocket, I pull out a handful of dried buds. There, try these, it'll help settle your nerves. She huffs into my hand, lapping up the buds. She's not the cheerful type, but I do sense that she's as placated as she can get. Nice job. I turn toward the voice. Off closer to the loch, I see a young woman on the slope, watching me tempt back my mare. She's clapping her hands in applause. I'm no horse tamer, but thank you. The girl comes closer, and I see she looks familiar. Given how few souls live in our vicinity, I make an educated guess. Grace? Yes. Malcolm? That's me. My sisters mentioned you were back. It's nice to see you again. It's certainly been a long time. It has. Truth be told, I have very little memory of the youngest McLeod sister. Even when our families got together, she tended to be scarce. I struggled for more words. You look so much older. As do you. And this is? Hazel, the one and thankfully only. You did a great job wrangling her. Yes, well, it's a start. It seems as though she's not enjoying her relaxing farm life. Grace's expression changes, and I sense she has some sympathy for my horse's plight. Perhaps she'd rather be wild and free. She's feisty. I like it. Feisty like you wouldn't believe. Here, offer her some chamomile. I give Grace another handful of dried buds from my pocket. She extends them to Hazel, who eagerly accepts the treat. How did you know these would calm her? It's a trick I learned while I was serving. When the soldiers went into panic and we were out of rum, we were told to chew on chamomile buds or leaves or brew them into tea. There you go. I figured the trick might work for a horse, too. And calm her it did, but not tame. Hardly. I don't think this mare was meant to be tamed. But that's all right. I'll treat her as well, and we'll learn to get along. Or you won't. Well, I'm not ready to give up on her just yet. Grace goes quiet again. We both look at each other for a moment, and I finally break the silence. So what have you been up to these days? I'm at home helping, Marion. What brings you all the way out here? She glances toward the water. Just taking myself out for a walk. Fresh air is good for you, don't you know? Heading to the loch. Perhaps. I'll go wherever the currents take me. He turns away from me, scratching Hazel's ear. Hazel is now tolerating the attention more than I would have guessed, but Grace seems to be shying away, so I don't press the subject. Well, anytime you and your sisters, of course, would like to come by for dinner, I'm sure Gran would be thrilled to see you all. I'll let Marion know. And Jessie? Yes, Jessie too. After years in the army, I can tell when I've been dismissed. Well, Grace, I ought to head back with Hazel in hand, seeing as how she's quieted down a great deal. Alright, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and pause it right there. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and that notification bell, and check out our Patreon if you can. It always helps. Before I go, I'm going to give a quick shout out to our lovely bronze tier patrons. Thank you all for all I do for the channel. We greatly appreciate your support. Thank you to our silver tier patron, Cade Silverman. Thank you for going a bit above and beyond. It's greatly appreciated. Anyway, if y'all want to get your names in the credits, get access to all of our not safe for work contents as little as $5. Alrighty, I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye!